I'm late for a very important date.
Wait, there's only serfs on this starship. Do you have a date with one of them? Are you trying to romance my serfs?
No. Maybe, if I found one I didn't hate, but you know my opinion on people.
Hate by default?
Yeah, pretty much. I hate all of you. Well, not you two. You two are actually pretty chill. You've made your way off the hate list, but not far off.
So, what's the video this week?
You know what? How about the Black Library and the Crystal Labyrinth?
I'm sorry. Both? Won't that be a long video?
Kind of. Probably not. You see, there's a weird thing that these two might be the same. There's actually a story I really like. So, for example, Tzeentch's Crystal Labyrinth, which I'll refer to as the Crystal Maze, is something that holds untold information. The Crystal Maze allows anyone in, but it traps everyone who walks it. The only way out is to go further in. And what information does the maze hold?
What is it?
Yes.
What?
Yes. If there is information, the Crystal Maze has it. But that doesn't mean it's all true. You find 7 sources right next to each other about the exact same thing. And each one will say something 100% contradictory to the others around it. The Crystal Maze of Tzeentch is madness incarnate. It shows you things that aren't real, hides things that are real, and makes absolutely no sense. And as I mentioned before, only one person has ever actually gotten through it, so who is it? Well, it was a little girl in a blue dress with blonde hair and silver slippers on, with her black dog. If you're trying to figure out who fits that description, it's obvious that you've never read the book The Wizard of Oz, because that's how Dorothy looks. The movie legitimately changed so much to show off the color, because it was when color TVs and movies were just starting to be made. When she was going through the mazes, Tzeentch was freaking out, because she was having 0 issues. She was just slamming through the whole thing like nobody's business, and then laughing. The story goes that at the last of the 9 doors, Tzeentch personally came in at the door to ask her a question.
Who is the most powerful being in all the realms?
And she stopped, looking up at the unimaginable horror, contemplating the answer. Tzeentch began to laugh, awaiting her answer. There was no way she would know who shapes the universe they were a part of, who could bring forth gods and man and lay low entire civilizations with a single word. And then she said the name.
Rick Priestley?
She said. Tzeentch looked confused, with absolutely no idea who the fuck that was, and the door creaked open and allowed her through. Tzeentch utterly perplexed by it all. This, weirdly enough, implies that Tzeentch doesn't know the answers to his own damn door maze. And that's rather mesmerizing to me, but makes sense. Given how the warp is, it's actually very likely that he never made the Crystal Maze, but it made him instead. I kinda like this concept. It actually feels very in line with the nature of the warp. Honestly, I could see each Chaos God having something similar, where there was something that came before them, but not sentient enough to actually do things. You get what I mean?
So, what does that have to do with the Harlequin Library?
Well, they share a lot of similarities. I'll be honest, I assumed that the Black Library was one of those universal things in the settings, like the Realms of Chaos and the Warp and their entities, but apparently it's not anything in Warhammer Fantasy. That's actually kind of surprising, really. But in 40k, the Black Library is literally just a record system of how to kick Chaos ass. Made by the Eldar, or their old empire, really. They installed it into the webway, which is kind of in between the warp and real space, which brings up a question about how the Tau travel, given they sort of do the same, but all of Fast and Light travel is kind of difficult, especially if each faction has a different way of going about it. But this library is said to be held in tight grip by the Eldar Laughing God, which you know very well, don't you, Darren?
Not so much anymore. I think I've found a new god, though I don't know his name.
Nobody knows the name of the king, just his mortal son's name, and we call him the King of Kings. They are 3 and 1, but that's enough about that subject. Chegorach created the library and only lets a select few enter it. Getting to it is literally impossible for humans to do, because it's so far down the road of the webway a newborn human would die of old age before getting out of sight of the door. Now, this library was made for study. Eldar used to go to it all the time to read up on Chaos Gods and how to kill them, fight them, and defeat them. And yet, despite being a library, there's no books allowed to leave this said library, and that led to a bit of an issue. The Age of Strife led to the Eldar just not using the webway near as much anymore, and only the Chosen of Chegorach being allowed in the Black Library. And despite the separation from the rest of the webway, the library still grows. Apparently, a complete copy of the Book of Magnus, a book on magic, how to use it and how to survive the warp, psychics, and the Book of Lorgar, which is a book of what the Chaos Gods are in the library in their complete forms. There is so little information on both of these. The Black Library has made appearances in 8 different books. Some of them are literally just passing mentions. Hell, one novel was literally about the faction Harlequins, and the Black Library is only mentioned in a few places in the entire book. Meanwhile, the Crystal Maze is only mentioned in 3 books. 2 of them were rule books, one being an RPG rulebook, and the last thing being a Magic the Gathering card game a few years ago. Those cards sold out so fast in my area. 40k is really popular in my town somehow. I don't know how, but most people know the game, or the setting, or just the models. It's absolutely wild. But I got a fulcrum to paint. I might have to take a break next week just to do that. I also need to paint a lot of heavies and some centurions, so shove off.